I'm Steve Turano with Ask a Real Expert. I'm getting this question a lot, so I thought I'd put out another video about it. The question is, Steve, what's the ideal number of sets, reps, and exercises to maximize size and strength? Well, that's a good question. Now, this video is for guys who've been working out for a while, so they might be intermediate or advanced. I want you to think about the amount of work you're placing your particular muscle under when you're at the gym, whether you're training legs or chest or back, whatever. But you need to think in terms of the amount of work you're applying to that muscle. Could you do more? Or are you like a lot of guys, hey Steve, I'm doing 30 sets for chest. Well, how hard could it be if you're able to do 30 sets for a muscle? Can't be training that hard. Yeah, eventually the volume adds up, but we're looking at intense muscular contractions. That's what causes the muscles to change and adapt. And intense muscular contractions will eventually tire out the muscle. So if you're training balls to the walls, you're probably not going to be able to get 30 sets. So we want to think in terms of number of exercises, and then from there we can think in terms of number of sets, and then from there we can think in terms of number of reps. Now I'm going to say this. Whether you're doing 6 reps or 8 reps, it's really not going to make much of a difference. At some point, you reach a point of diminishing returns, meaning I'm doing this particular weight for 8 reps, then I'm getting it for 10 reps, then I'm getting it for 12 reps. Hey, I'm getting stronger. I'm not getting as sore as I used to be. I'm adapting. My muscles are getting bigger and stronger. That's what we want. But at some point in time, that weight will eventually be too light for you. And then you have to make that weight a warm-up set and then increase your weight. Hence the concept of pyramiding. As we add more sets, we lower the reps and add more weight. So if you wrote it down on a piece of paper, it would look like a pyramid. So don't worry so much about the reps. Think in terms of the amount of weight you can handle. And are you handling a maximum or a significant amount of weight compared to your total strength? In other words, my training partner Justin, guy's crazy monkey retard strong. I mean, he can bench press 455 for, 6, 7, 8 reps. The guy's crazy strong. But sometimes when he goes, man, I'm going to go light for a couple weeks and get more reps, I go, okay, your strength is going to suffer. Even though he's handling a tremendous amount of weight, 405, and he's doing it for reps and reps, when he jumps up to 455 or 475, that's hard. It's hard because he hasn't handled anything over 405, even though 405 is a crazy amount of weight. So it doesn't matter whether it's 405 or 225. If you hang out at 225 and you're getting that for 6, 8, 10 reps, you still got to jump up to 275 once in a while or 255. Because if you don't try that weight, if you don't force your muscles to handle that additional weight, you're not going to gain that additional strength. I don't care how many times you do 225, or in Justin's case, 405. So you've got to jump into that arena of heavier weight. So if you do it for 3 or 4 reps or 4 or 5 reps, and you do it for 1 or 2 sets, and then you go back down in weight, doesn't really matter. Or if you just stay at that weight for that particular day, again, there's no magic to it. The magic is handling the additional weight. So again, you can go to a particular weight and do 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 sets at that weight for that number of reps. On another workout, you can increase the weight once you're warmed up and lower the reps because that's naturally going to occur. So you handle more weight for fewer reps, but again, you're creating that intense muscular contractions. You're getting used to handling that weight. So your body's going, wow, we're not handling 225 anymore, we're at 250. I'm going to create contractions that are conducive to 250 pounds of stress, not 220 pounds of stress. And that's the big thing that people don't understand. Yeah, I'm going to stand perfectly still and curl the 30s, and it's going to feel like the 50s. It may feel like the 50s, but it's not going to create the muscular contraction that the 50s will. Yeah, even if you're moving a little bit. The more weight you handle, the more those muscle fibers contract, the more intense contractions occur. So the more you can handle heavier weight, regardless of the rep range, the bigger and stronger you will get. So again, how many reps can you handle? It's going to depend on how heavy you go. Again, there's nothing wrong with a day where you're doing 2 and 3 reps or 4 and 5 reps. Powerlifters do a lot of that. How many sets are you going to do? Depends on what kind of shape you're in. You know, if you're in good shape, you can do 4 or 5 heavy working sets on bench press. How many exercises are you going to do? Depends on how much work your body can handle or how much work your body needs to adapt. You do bench, then you do incline bench. Man, that might be enough for you depending on what kind of shape you're in. You might get to the point where you say, man, I need a third exercise. I'm just not as sore. I'm just not feeling it as much. So you go from bench to incline bench, and then you go from there to dumbbell work. Maybe dumbbell bench or dumbbell flies. At the end, you go, man, that feels like work. 3 sets of bench, 3 sets of incline, 3 sets of dumbbell. Or 4 or 5 sets of bench, 4 sets of incline, 4 sets of dumbbell. You can vary that. You know, you can have those days where you do some additional sets, but you keep the exercises at 2. You can get to the point where you keep your sets the same, but you add an additional exercise. So there are no hard and fast rules. The hard and fast rule is that you handle additional weight that causes you to put out some additional effort. That's the magic. And again, if you've got to cheat a little bit to get the additional weight, if you need some additional help, not a problem, because you're still doing 99% of that weight. When I was spotting Justin today, he was squatting 615, got it for 4 or 5 reps. That was after like 585 and 545, whatever the hell it was. And I'm spotting him, and I'm not lifting him. What I'm doing is I'm stabilizing his torso so he doesn't lean over. So he's always worried about, hey, are you helping me, bro? I'm like, dude, I'm not doing anything. I'm just stabilizing your torso. There's no way I could lift your 250-pound ass plus the 600 pounds you got on top of you. Trust me, I'm not doing it. So again, think in terms of how much work you are applying to the muscles you're training. And then again, adjust the weight accordingly. So 6 reps, 7 reps, 8 reps, 4 reps. There is no magic number. The magic is that you are constantly challenging the muscle with additional weights and working sets. That's the important thing. And at some point, there'll be a point where you become strong enough that the weight you're handling is no longer creating a challenge for your body. You'll get strong enough to handle that weight, but that's where you'll plateau. To get bigger and stronger than what you currently are, you have to lift more weight than you're currently lifting. I'm Steve Turano. Train smart, train hard.